Women's History Month 2015. We're very excited to have you all here and to introduce in a few minutes our speaker for today. My name is Fawzia Afzal-Khan, and I am the current director of Women and Gender Studies program here at MSU. The program is undergoing a new, it's going to take on a new name, new coloring, and we're very excited about this change. As of fall 2015, we will be called the program in Gender, Sexuality, and Women's Studies, which is very, very exciting change, because we will also now in the program that we offer, in the courses that we teach, in the programming that we offer for our students in terms of speakers and so on, will reflect more and more, as we've been doing over the past few years, but with a really centralized focus on the intersections of these different nodes of our identity, gender, sexuality, and what we commonly think of as our biologically formed identities. And so all of these will be deconstructed and reconstructed and questioned afresh in our courses going forward. I encourage those of you who are interested in these issues to really think about joining the program as majors, as minors, as any combination thereof, second majors. If you already have another major, we work very well with lots of other majors, and we really provide an interdisciplinary education, which is more and more what I think the world needs today, and what will get you jobs as well. So come see us. We are located in rooms 120 and 121 in Dixon Hall. And somebody or the other is usually around. If not me, then our wonderful program assistant, Lashana Walters, who will introduce our speaker in a few minutes. I wanted to call your attention, though, before we begin today, the rest of the calendar for March and really into April. We have some super programs that I know all of you will be interested in, maybe if not in everything, certainly many things in here will speak to you. So we have copies of our program available in the back in all the lovely colors of the rainbow. This is, after all, our title this month is The Colors of Feminism. So I think we have yellow, blue, pink, right? Lots of colored. Green. Yeah, we've got them all in the back table. So do get yourself a copy and come to our programs, please, because they are done for you. We have stuff ranging from a lecture on LGBTQ children's literature offered by one of our faculty, to lectures on blasphemy, gender, and Sharia law, very much in the news, to something offered by a woman of Pakistani background who has multi-million-dollar company in security, in the security industry, who will be talking about how to become an entrepreneur, to race, hip-hop, and feminism, a lecture by our keynote for the month, Dr. Brittany Cooper of Rutgers, who just this month has an article in Ms. Magazine, and is one of the co-founders of a blog, right?
The Funk Feminist Collective.
The Crunk Feminist Collective. You can look that up. Very, very dynamic speaker. I've heard her speak, and you'll love her. And then we have, and I want to especially bring your attention to this, because this is a speaker called Ruchira Gupta, who is the founder as well as the current president of an organization called Apne Aap Worldwide, which is a grassroots movement that started in India, whose mission is to end sex trafficking worldwide. And she is the president and founder of Apne Aap, which is based in Bombay, or Mumbai as it is now known, in India. And the organization at that level in India helps women who are, who end up in the brothels of Bombay against their will, and Apne this organization provides them with counseling and with training to help them find a way out of that reality. So we here in the program also pick an organization that works with issues that are important to us. And this year, and we help to provide, we collect funding at events like these throughout the year, and we then present the organization with a check. This year, we're lucky that the organization happens to be Apne, and its founder and president will be here and has agreed and is willing and looking forward to coming and talking to us and telling us a little bit about what it means to found an organization like that and to discuss the work and the achievements and the challenges that Apne has faced. And then we will present her with a check. So I urge you, as I will be urging people throughout this month, to donate as much as you can. Whatever loose change you have in your pockets, let's hear it jingle. Dollar here or there would really help. This is how we raise money, and by the end of the year we actually make a decent amount to hand over to the organization of choice that we've been supporting. So this year it's really important that we give Ruchira a substantial check that she can cash and take back to help the women of the sex trafficking industry, not just in India, but in other parts of the world where this organization is also setting up offices. So do we have a basket somewhere? Thank you. So Carmine is going to pass this around. Please donate as generously as you can. And if you don't have anything on you right now, come by to our office at some point and donate some money. But now would be great if we could see, even if it's a few quarters to a few dollars, whatever you can afford. I wanted to alert you to the fact that we have new program flyers and also brochures that have just come hot off the presses, and they are also available in that back table. So please collect these if you are at all interested, which I hope you will be, and I'm sure you are because you're here, you've been taking a class in, that's supposed to introduce you to some of the issues that are important in our field. Take our brochure, study them, and come join the program if you haven't already. I want to take this just a couple of minutes to introduce a few people who are key to the program. We obviously have key faculty here, Professor Landweber, who you all know, who's also got a joint appointment, the only one who has a joint appointment actually with our home department history as well as with women and gender studies. And we have Professor Julie Farnham, Julie there, who is based in anthropology and has been is the current GLBTQ coordinator, who also works with the program and has worked very hard with me and several other people to merge the GLBTQ program with the Women and Gender Studies program to offer you this new program, this new major, in fact, called Gender, Sexuality, and Women's Studies. Who else? We have Isbilda Abreu in the back there in the green, who is the Director of Equity and Diversity, which is also houses our Women's Center, or the other way around, I should say, probably. It's the Women's Center and then Gender, Equity and Diversity. And we just coming from a wonderful flag raising going well, because we couldn't literally hoist the flag since we were indoors, but we do this at the beginning of every Women's History Month. And I want to introduce some of our student helpers who are here. One in particular, Carmine, would you wave from there? Carmine Ramirez, one of our new majors who has already taken a leading role in the program and will be filming this event today. And if anybody has any problems with being on camera, you should see her and let her know, so we don't actually have any footage that shows you. Hopefully that's not the case. And finally, I want to introduce Lashana Walters. Lashana there, who will be introducing our speaker today. Lashana Walters is, as many of you already you know, is our trusty program assistant, works part-time for our program in the office and really does an enormous amount of work to ensure that programming like this happens, gets done, runs on time, etc., etc. Her thesis, she has just recently completed her MA in Sociology and Social Justice with a thesis that focused on understanding the intersectional identities of Black lesbians, gays, and bisexual folk with a focus on how the lack of media representation affects their self-identification. So with work like that, we couldn't be luckier to have you as our program assistant in the program, especially going forward. So a round of applause. And I think that's all I want to say. And Lashana will come and introduce our speaker. And for my part, I'm delighted to welcome Ryan Holmes.
Hi, everyone. I hate speaking. Okay, so basically, the beginning of last semester, we were sitting around trying to figure out what the theme of this year was going to be for Women's History Month. And our assistant, who graduated in December, actually came up with the theme of Colors of Feminism. So that would be really interesting to showcase feminists of color and minority women and men and, you know, all that in between. So I reached out to Ryan and asked if Ryan could come and do a presentation, and Ryan agreed. So Ryan is the co-founder of the Bklyn Boihood Collective and the community programming director of Mokata, is that how you use it? Which is a museum of contemporary African Diasporian arts. The Bklyn Boihood is a collective that creates visibility and builds community within masculine of center boys, lesbians, queers, trans-identified, studs, doms, butches, and AGs of color through online media, events, workshops, and collaborative projects. So I just want to have all of us give a round of applause for Ryan coming here, and I hope all of you enjoy the presentation.
Thank you. I'm going to share with you, first just, you know, first, let me get this tag together. Sorry, I have a Mac and I haven't been on a PC in like a really long time.
Coming
It's gonna be worth it, I swear. It's gonna be awesome. Well, while I'm getting my life together, who's in the room? Everybody here is like taking classes in this department. Okay, so there's some knowledge.
Yeah, we wish we were a department, but we're a program. So it's quite different.
One of these days, we're going. We're the little engine that could.
Okay, I think we're good. Cool.
Just put a loud.
All right. Awesome. I'm going to start over. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
My name is Ryan, and thanks for the great introduction. Again, I am the co-founder of the Bklyn Boihood Collective. Among a ton of other things, I am the community programming director currently for Mokata, which is this really dope-ass contemporary Black arts museum in Brooklyn. If you ever get the chance to check out the gallery, please do. My job at the museum is to do all of our public programs. So essentially, I bring the art that we feature visually to the people, and that comes in a lot of different forms, whether it be film screenings, big, huge festivals and concerts. And you know, I've been doing that for a couple years now, and it's been awesome. It's become a definite staple in Brooklyn. So yeah, that's like a little tiny bit about me. So Bklyn Boihood is a collective that champions healthy masculinity, intersectionality of identities, anti-misogyny for boys of color all over the world. It's super powerful, our mission and our goals. And for folks that don't know, boy, that term for us just kind of really encompasses fluidity. We're kind of hard pressed with these like really stringent ideas of what it means to be man, woman, masculine, feminine. But the truth of the matter is every person on the planet exists in between all of those things. None of us come neatly packaged in this little box. So we try to just break that and dismantle that completely. And that's why we have like coined this term boy and just really try to use it to express fluidity. So the boys, I'm definitely not doing this work alone. There are 5 core members, and oftentimes we present together. But y'all's budget was a little, no, I was kidding. But I mean, this is actually a shot from a retreat that we did in Detroit, Michigan. Every year we get together and sort of map out the year of our work, decide what we want to do. But the reason I'm showing you everybody's name and picture or whatever is because the thing that makes our collective really special is that every single person that's involved in the organizing of the work that we do comes from a really different background, but from a really powerful experience. So for instance, Chino, whose side of the profile you can see over here, is a formerly incarcerated prison activist, amazing facilitator, also a father, trans man, raising 2 incredible young men, and has been all over the world kind of just telling his story and sharing what he has to, and it's really is gripping. I don't know how much I know about the prison system in this country, but it's really fucked up. And Chino had really, firsthand experience in that, so it's important for his story to be out there. Jackie is based upstate New York. She's a singer-songwriter. Morgan is the Allied Media Conference content coordinator in Detroit, Michigan. If you don't know about that, you should find out. I'm putting y'all on, you should write this shit down. And then Zaire just graduated from Northeastern University last year and just passed the New York bar. So it's also our lawyer. But aside from that, these are folks with big hearts, big dreams, great ideas, and just, the passion and drive to see something happen differently in the world. A lot of the ways that we communicate our message are through our different media platforms. Sometimes that looks like online, through our website, our blog. We're most known for this really awesome calendar I'm going to pass around later. And it's a print project, and people were kind of criticizing that when we first did it. But I think that the cool thing about having this calendar and being able to share it is that, it's something that people can physically look at every single day when they wake up and affirm who they are. For folks with more privilege, it's hard to imagine that that's something that you need. But when there's such a lack of it in every single other way, every little way that you can sort of see yourself is just more and more important. So what we do is we take applications from all over, and we tend to get like 100 to 200, which speaks to how important this is for people. And we ask them who they are, why it's important for them to be visible, what their story is, and we share that. We share that with the world. And this calendar has been shipped to over 20 countries. It was the first project that we did in 2009, and the 5th one just happened and sold out in a month, which is dope. But, and then we typically highlight, Angela Davis' birthday. We never put Thanksgiving. I think we put Thanksgiving. Just to kind of reclaim time and space in this particular way. So it's a really important project, and one that is definitely, a huge part of our identity. We also just make everything. Everything we sell, all the merchandise that makes our brand visible, allows people to just rep who we are, and if they're connected to it, we make that. This is like a picture from my old living room, the screen in the back or whatever. But the DIY thing is just another way of us, having power over what we're doing and what we're putting out. So in order to do this work, we need money. And we're not interested in relying on grants or institutional support in particular ways, because it just feels, I don't know, like modern day slavery or something. So typically, a lot of the ways that we raise the funds are by throwing these really dope parties. In 2009, when we came up with Bklyn Boihood and came up with the idea to do the calendar, you know, alongside that was this urge that people wanted to have a safe space, like places that they could find community, and one of those places was nightlife. Being like a Black queer person of color, it's hard to go out in Manhattan, walk to the door, and they look at what you're wearing, and they're like, nah, you don't meet the dress code. What they're really saying is, you make me uncomfortable because you look different, or maybe we don't meet the dress code, but there's like this other layer that's fucked up with that too. We've also had encounters with violence, you know, interacting with bouncers and stuff like that. So this was something that we were hearing from our community, and we thought, since we're really great at partying, let's put our heads together and create a space that takes care of our folks and allows them to celebrate who they are in all forms and expression. And then just knowing as Black folks, like celebrating and coming together and kinship and all those things have historically just been a part of who we are in our culture. So we felt it really important to kind of bring that back. So this is like one snapshot from a party we did before. I'll show you a video later so you can see how turned up it gets. And then one of the projects I'm really excited about, which we'll be releasing this year, is an anthology called Outside the XY, Queer Brown Masculinity. We gather stories from writers, non-writers, movement leaders, people who just felt like they had something to say, from all over the world. Like, we got applications from, I know one of the most interesting pieces is from a Black trans Aboriginal person from Australia. You know, so their perspective on what it means to be in their body is just about to blow people's minds. So yeah, keep an eye out for this. We're hoping that it just continues to shape the way that we think about all of these topics. Because one of the most important things is that we have a variety of different narratives. And Bklyn Boihood, for one, is just tired of hearing the same one. And these are Chino's sons. I put them in there because they're so cute. In case everybody's bored, they'll be like, ah. No, but something that's super important for us is family. Not only do we organize together and travel together, we live amongst each other, we help each other out, we rely on each other, we depend on each other, we party together, we do everything. And part of that is like, you know, being a village and raising these young men. And they're very excited about Bklyn Boihood. They, you know, they pick up on a lot of the things that I think we're trying to get across, which you'll learn more about throughout the presentation. But not only this, we also have a lot of relationships with elders in our community, which is super deep. Like, I had never, until I connected to like queer and trans elders in Brooklyn, I just couldn't imagine like who I would be when I was older. I know we all feel that way, but like, you might see a grandma or like old people and you're like, ah. But just like, you know, being like gender non-conforming or trans or whatever, you just don't see images of older people. So you start to think, well, are they dead? Did they make it? You know, which is a crazy thought, but a lot of the times, a lot of folks didn't. And then the other bit of truth is that they become invisible or go kind of stealth in community, or they're just not documented. You know, they're sitting up in their house somewhere, not connected to community as much. So we do a lot of work to reach out to, connect with, and build really deeply with the elders in our community as well. So these are just some of the words that come up when I think about our collective. I'm not gonna read them, you can. But one thing that I think is sticking out to me that I did want to talk about a little bit was dreams. I'm about to get like really spacey and weird. But, you know, coming up on my life, and I was fairly successful. Like, I went to high school, got a track scholarship, went to college, got my grad degree. Like, I did everything that I thought I was supposed to do. And I don't know, I guess I never 100% felt fulfilled, like on that path. I always felt like I was on somebody else's. So I think one of the things that's like a commonality that weaves all of us together and allows us to have the reach that we do and connect with people the way that we do is because we just literally dream and imagine like a better world for ourselves. And it's hard to, because there's so much fucked up shit that happens. Like 5 I can name on my way over here. But at the same time, the fact that we're able to persevere and just accomplish things because we think about it and believe that we can, has sort of become like an addiction for all of us in the collective. So, you know, we have huge dreams. Like and we are constantly in practice of like moving them forward. So this is kind of like my PSA that, you know, though we're all kind of given a script, if you feel like passionate about something or it's nagging at you or it excites you, that's what you follow. And you'll be able to work super hard for it. And so Brooklyn Boihood, the fact that I'm even here talking to you today just kind of speaks back to me that what we're putting out does come back. So that's one of the things that I think is really fucking bossy about our collective. And yeah, we're doing our best to not just think about ways to function in systems of oppression and like all these ways that make things hard to live, but I don't know, to kind of flip it on its head and think outside the box. So the things that we do might not necessarily always seem like the right thing. Like we're open about the fact that we like don't think marijuana is a drug, or you know, just all these different things that I think just make us unique and stand outside of these systems are, I guess they're kind of our way of having resistance, right? Another way that we resist is we work really hard to care for ourselves. And this is a big challenge for everybody because it really starts from a place of like loving yourself. And as much as we can like take a selfie and be like, no, I love myself. It's a lot of really hard work because each person in this room has some like internalized negative something that they have to work through in order to sort of make that place in their hearts. And especially for Black people, Black queer people in the world that just doesn't affirm who you are, your existence, from like a large perspective, it's really important to make sure that we care for ourselves. So we follow this quote oftentimes with Audre Lorde, that it's not self-indulgent to take care of yourself. It's actually an act of political warfare. And so the other thing to realize is that in Black culture, self-care, and sort of like Western ways of medicine and going to the hospital, especially for Black men or folks that are masculine presenting, for whatever reason, has been taboo. Actually, for a lot of reasons. Because, you know, throughout our histories, those kinds of institutions weren't really good to Black bodies at all. So I think a lot of that shit has just kind of continued. And that makes it even harder for us to sort of take care of who we are, especially without resources and stuff like that. So these are the ways that we try to implement self-care. Just taking time to relax, enjoy ourselves, do the things that we like to do. Use our community resources if we can't rely on institutional resources. And then just checking in with each other. Which sounds kind of weird, but, you know, something about masculinity and communication, oftentimes there's an emotional block or a resistance to be vulnerable. And a lot of that time, you know, it's kind of hard to communicate things that feel personal to you. So we try to challenge that in our spaces all the time. And then just trying to consistently put these things in practice, physically, mentally, emotionally, and socially. Another ways that we care for ourselves and our community is by redefining what self-responsibility looks like for us. So when dealing with Black masculinity, it's important to be accountable in our actions and to acknowledge what masculine privilege is. Do folks in the room know what masculine privilege is? Anyone want to take a shot at it? All right, I'll tell you. So masculine privilege was sort of, it was kind of a hard thing for me to acknowledge, you know. We've all heard of white privilege, and just the word privilege, I felt like, I don't feel privileged. I feel like, you know, I have all these different things that, I don't like to use the word minority, but make it a challenge for me. But the truth is, we, you know, as boys of color, we do have a pretty unique perspective, because I am treated differently based on my presentation. And the way I walk through the world is a little bit different. Sometimes I do encounter the same violence that happens against women, but I'm not catcalled 30 times coming from my house to the train when I go to work every morning. So to understand masculine privilege is to understand that part of it is that it has the space to perform however it wants to in almost any space without being checked. One of my favorite examples, and I don't know if people have been on the New York City subway, but when dudes get on and they hit this one right here, and couldn't give a shit if, you know, the woman next to them is here or there, whatever. So just that entitlement, or not not like immediate registration that you may be taking up space. As boys of color who carry masculinity, we feel it's part of our identity and our job to use the space that we have to be verbal and vocal in an opposing way as often as possible. And sometimes that can be dangerous. Sometimes that looks like walking down the street with a partner who's more feminine presenting, and she gets street harassed or catcalled or something like that. And there's been situations where my partner has said, like, hey, no, I'm not interested. And the men that have harassed them, like, it's almost if a mouse or something is yelling, or they further engage. So sometimes it looks like having to step into situations where your safety isn't necessarily guaranteed. But most of the responsibility we see is just ensuring that we don't disrespect or undermine femininity and femme identity. Examining the roles that we choose to play, and actively not being pressured by the problematic constructs of masculinity. And some of those characteristics that are most problematic are sometimes the ones that we value as the highest. So aggressiveness, sexualization, possession. Those are the things that I feel like come up the most when, you know, people are trying to prove something about themselves, and so it comes out really ugly. Misogyny and violence towards women or femme-identified folks. It looks like femphobia. As boys of color, sometimes we're the perpetrators of misogyny in an effort to embody the most extreme and damaging forms of masculinity. And that's what has to stop, and that's a lot of what Bklyn Boihood is trying to challenge. It's also self-responsibility is self-identified, self-defined, and exudes confidence. It means being accepting and respectful of each other's identity without forcing boys to act in ways that are familiar, stereotypical, or normal. You know, and all of this stuff, like breaking down a boy, I believe also like really strongly applies to cisgender men as well. So hopefully y'all understand. This is one of our calendar shoots from 2013, and a quote from one of the models who is actually a director and owns their own fashion line, but I think it really just comes across and highlights what I'm saying. So Tony says, I love being different and showing people that you can go against the norm of what role society feels you must fulfill in order to be accepted. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. So the safety of women, it means so much. It's not just something that affects women, it affects the entire world. It means culturally addressing the widespread casualness of rape culture, which I couldn't say enough about. We typically find that in our mainstream media, rape culture And this sort of hatred of femininity has become really normalized, almost to the point where we may not even notice it sometimes, or notice that we've internalized those things. So when we think about the fact that, you know, folks can joke about certain things or take them lightly, that just further instigates when violence actually happens towards women. You can look at a trajectory from, I use the example of catcalling black because I'm from Brooklyn, but how situations like that can quickly escalate into something violent or escalate into something where a woman is threatened or unsafe. So the safety of women just means turning the conversation into one that involves masculine-centered people, families, children, community leaders. It's about understanding that safe and protected bodies of women and girls mean better, more equitable communities for everyone, literally. Because the truth is we live in a patriarchal society run by matriarchs. And, you know, the divine power that exists in femininity and women is just something that I think if we all work together to acknowledge and defeat, we really can. And it's not going to do anything but make it a better world for all of us. So we like to just imagine a revolution that will be sparked from creating safe spaces. If everyone on Earth felt like their full selves, felt safe in their environments, felt supported and affirmed, then we could change everything. So, yeah, that concludes my present.